All right, let's dive right into an absolutely epic mystery. We're traveling way back in time to ancient Egypt for this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a wild true story. We're talking intense family drama, a massive betrayal, and a huge secret hidden right behind palace walls. Seriously, it's a rescue mission packed with disguises and totally edge-of-your-seat suspense.
So, I want you to think about this for a second. Have you ever made a really big mistake and then just tried to bury it? Well, imagine hiding a terrible secret for decades, only to realize that very mistake is actually about to become part of a massive rescue mission? It's crazy to think about, right? Today, we're really digging into the question of how our dark secrets eventually, catch up with us.
Section 1. Journey to Ancient Egypt. Our story actually kicks off when a terrible famine, like a massive, life-threatening shortage of food, hits the land of Canaan. A father named Jacob tells his sons, hey, you need to head down to Egypt to buy grains so we don't literally starve. But here's the catch, and it's a big one. 10. Notice that number? Jacob actually had 12 sons, but he only sent 10 of them on this trip. Why? Well, he was just way too afraid to send his youngest Benjamin. See, he'd already lost one son years ago under mysterious circumstances, and he was absolutely terrified of losing another.
Now, to really grasp the craziest part of this story, we have to jump back a bit. Exactly 20 years ago, those same 10 brothers did something awful. They actually sold their own brother, Joseph, into slavery, just totally betrayed him. But over the years, something wild happened. Joseph secretly rose through the ranks and became super powerful in Egypt. So flash forward to today. The brothers are traveling to Egypt to beg for food from the governor, completely clueless that this powerful leader is actually the brother they got rid of.
Section 2. The Secret Governor.
Okay, picture this. The brothers walk into this massive, intimidating throne room, and they bow down right to the floor. They have absolutely no idea they are bowing to the very brother they hurt all those years ago. Now Joseph, he recognizes them instantly, but, and this is key, he doesn't give his identity away, not a chance. Instead, he decides he needs to test them, so he puts on a disguise of sorts and acts like this really harsh, grumpy stranger.
He actually points right at them and dramatically shouts, "You are spies. You've come to spot our country's weaknesses." Boom. He throws them completely off balance, and this kicks off an absolutely brilliant undercover test. He really needs to know, have these brothers who were so cruel to him actually changed their ways, or are they exactly the same?
Section 3. The Ultimate Spy Test.
Naturally, the brothers are terrified. They desperately try to explain, no, we're just a normal family of 12 brothers. But Joseph isn't having it. He locks them in a dark prison for 3 whole days. When he finally lets them out, he lays down a really intense 3-step test. Step 1, one of the brothers, Simeon, has to stay behind in jail as a guarantee. Step 2, the rest of them are allowed to take the grain back home. And step 3, the hardest part, they absolutely must bring their youngest brother, Benjamin, all the way back to Egypt to prove their story is true.
Section 4. A Guilty Conscience Awakened.
So, being trapped in this terrifying situation forces the brothers to finally confront that horrible secret they've been burying for 2 decades. Right there, in front of the governor, they start whispering to each other, saying, "We are in fact guilty concerning our brother. That's why this distress has come upon us now." You guys, their consciences are finally waking up. It suddenly clicks for them that this is divine justice. Their cruel choices from 20 years ago are literally catching up to them right now. Reuben, who's the oldest brother, even yells at them, "Didn't I tell you not to hurt him? Now comes the reckoning." And honestly, here's the most mind-blowing part of this whole scene. They have absolutely no idea that Joseph understands every single word they are saying. Yep, he's been using an interpreter the whole time to trick them into thinking he only speaks Egyptian.
Now, you might be thinking Joseph is just being vindictive here, but he's really not doing this out of revenge. Hearing that his brothers are genuinely remorseful completely breaks his heart. He actually has to quickly turn away from them to cry in secret, but, he has to be absolutely sure they've changed. So he wipes his tears, turns back around with a straight face, and takes Simeon away to prison right in front of their eyes.
Section 5. The Missing Money Mystery. The remaining brothers pack up their donkeys and start the long trek back to Canaan. But on the way, they stop for the night, open up one of their grain sacks, and discover this totally crazy mystery. The shiny gold coins they used to pay for the food have been secretly put right back into their bags. I mean, their hearts just completely sink. They are trembling with fear, asking each other, "What is this that God has done to us?" They are absolutely terrified that the Egyptian governor is going to think they robbed him.
Section 6. Testing for true transformation. When they finally get back to Canaan, they rush to their father Jacob and tell him this incredibly wild story about the harsh governor, the spy accusations, and then, to make matters worse, they empty all their sacks and find everyone's money hidden inside. It's a total disaster. Jacob is just overwhelmed with despair. He cries out, "You're taking Benjamin away." Reuben steps up and desperately promises, "I will return him to you," even offering to put his own sons' lives on the line as a guarantee. But Jacob is just too heartbroken and terrified to agree.
And you know, this perfectly illustrates something incredibly powerful called divine providence. Think about the contrast here. The brothers' past actions were intended to completely destroy Joseph. But God took that evil, terrible betrayal and used it to place Joseph in the exact position of power he needed to be in to eventually save his entire family from the famine. It's amazing. It shows that God can actually work his ultimate plans of redemption even through our darkest mistakes.
So bringing it all together, the lessons from this chapter are super profound. First up, conscience awakened. 20 years later, the brothers are finally forced to face their cruelty, proving you just can't outrun your past forever. Second, divine providence. God has a much bigger plan, turning their wicked deed into a path for their own salvation. And third, testing for transformation. Joseph didn't test his brothers out of malice. He had to gauge their character to see if their hearts had truly changed, because that's the only way true family healing could ever happen.
Ultimately, the massive moral of this whole mystery is that your past sins, yeah, they will eventually catch up with you. But facing them head-on is absolutely necessary for true repentance, forgiveness, and reconciliation. So what's a secret or mistake from your past that you might need to face today to find that fresh start? Think about it. Click the bell button, like, share, and subscribe.